Have you ever felt something unusual happening in your body, something you couldn't quite explain, and wondered if it was a silent warning? As we get older, it's easy to brush off small changes, thinking it's probably just age. But what if I told you that some of these changes aren't just about getting older? They might actually be early warning signs of a condition called Parkinson's disease. In today's video, we're going to break down 5 specific signs that could be your body's early signal of Parkinson's, especially if you're over the age of 80. It sounds serious, right? But here's the truth: early awareness and monitoring can make all the difference. These signs have been documented by neurologists as potential early indicators, and in many cases they show up long before the more obvious symptoms appear. From how your arms swing when you walk to subtle shifts in your voice, even how you smell things your body may already be trying to tell you, pay attention. And I want you to stay with me until the end of this video, not just for your own health, but maybe for someone you love who's going through similar changes. Because recognizing the signs early can give you the control and the calm you need for the road ahead. Sign number 1, loss of smell. One of the very first and most surprising early signs of Parkinson's is losing your sense of smell. And no, we're not talking about the kind of stuffy nose you get from a cold or seasonal allergies. This is different. It's when you can't smell your morning coffee anymore, the roses in your garden, or even your favorite perfume, even though you're not sick at all. What makes this even trickier is that most people don't notice it right away. They'll often chalk it up to aging or think, hey, maybe the food just doesn't taste like it used to. But neurologists have shown that this loss of smell can actually be one of the earliest signs that something's changing inside the brain, long before the more obvious symptoms like tremors or stiffness show up. Here's why Parkinson's often starts affecting the brain in a region called the olfactory bulb. That's the area responsible for processing smells. And damage here can begin years, even decades before movement issues appear. Take Robert, for example, a 74-year-old retired teacher from Ohio. He started noticing that the meals his wife cooked didn't smell as strong as they used to. At first, he thought it was just aging, or maybe mild sinus trouble. But the change stuck around for years. By the time he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, it all made sense. That loss of smell had been the first domino to fall quiet, painless, but deeply significant. And that's the tricky part: it doesn't hurt. It doesn't interrupt your life in an obvious way. So it's easy to ignore. But with Parkinson's, a disease that moves slowly and silently, signs like this are incredibly important. So if you've recently noticed that food flowers or the world around you just doesn't smell the way it used to, and you don't have a cold, don't brush it off. This could be your nervous system trying to whisper, something's changing. Sign number 2, persistent constipation. Now this one might catch you off guard. You wouldn't think your gut has anything to do with your brain, right? But chronic constipation, yes, that uncomfortable, awkward topic, is actually one of the clearest early warning signs of Parkinson's. Everyone gets constipated from time to time, but if you're eating plenty of fiber, drinking enough water, staying active, and it's still happening regularly, you need to pay attention. Here's what most people don't realize: Parkinson's can actually start in the gut. That's right. Some of the newest research shows that the earliest signs of Parkinson's often show up in the digestive system, not in your hands, not in your feet. Why? Because the same nerve cells that control movement are also deeply connected to your digestive tract. When signals from the brain to your gut muscles begin to slow down, your bowel movements become less frequent and less effective, leading to chronic constipation. In fact, your gut is sometimes called your second brain. It has its own complex network of nerves linked directly to the brain through something called the vagus nerve. When that connection starts to break down, as it often does in the early stages of Parkinson's, you may start to experience all kinds of digestive issues. And constipation is often the first domino to fall. Let me give you a real example. Harold, a 78-year-old veteran from Arizona, had been relying on laxatives for years. He changed his diet, drank plenty of water, exercised regularly, nothing helped. Years later, he began to develop a hand tremor and issues with balance. That's when doctors finally diagnosed him with Parkinson's. Looking back, the digestive problems were one of the earliest signs, but no one connected the dots at the time. And here's the problem: most older adults don't talk about it. Constipation is seen as a small issue, something embarrassing to mention. But that silence often causes us to miss out on critical early warnings. So if your digestion has been off without an obvious cause and it's not going away, don't ignore it. It might not just be a gut issue. It could be your nervous system sending a quiet signal that something deeper is going on. And paying attention now might help you protect your long-term brain health. Sign number 3. Your handwriting is getting smaller. Here's a sign that might really surprise you. Your handwriting is shrinking. That's right. You've been writing your whole life without giving it much thought. But one day you glance at something you just wrote and notice. Your letters are smaller, tighter, harder to read, even though you're using the same pen, same paper, and same technique as always. This condition is called micrographia, which literally means small writing. And it's one of the subtle motor signs doctors often look for when assessing early Parkinson's. Imagine writing the first line of a note perfectly fine, but as you go on, the letters get smaller, more cramped, and less legible. You might feel like your hand's not moving quite the way it used to. Not painful, just off. That's because the part of your brain responsible for controlling fine motor skills like writing isn't communicating with your muscles as smoothly anymore. Let me tell you about James, an 81-year-old retired accountant. He always took pride in his handwriting, clean, elegant, easy to read. But one day while signing a birthday card, he noticed his signature looked oddly small. A few months later, he started feeling more strain while writing. Making a grocery list felt like it took more focus and effort than before. Eventually, his doctor confirmed early-stage Parkinson's. And that tiny handwriting, it was the very first clue. Of course, not every change in handwriting means Parkinson's. Arthritis, vision issues, even switching pens can all affect how you write. But if you start to notice a consistent trend, your handwriting, shrinking letters crowding together, writing feeling harder than it should, don't brush it off. Changes in everyday tasks like writing, signing your name, jotting down a note, can reflect deeper shifts in how your brain and muscles are working together. And that might just be your body's quiet way of saying something's changing. Sign number 4, when one arm stops swinging when you walk. If you're someone who enjoys a morning walk, here's something worth paying close attention to. Do both of your arms still swing naturally as you walk? Or have you noticed that one arm, maybe your left, maybe your right, just hangs there motionless by your side? This is actually one of the earliest and most classic motor signs of Parkinson's disease, and also one of the easiest to miss. Many people don't even realize it's happening until a loved one points it out. You might hear something like, "Grandma, why isn't your left arm moving when you walk?" It all comes down to how the brain coordinates movement. When we walk, our brain sends automatic signals that help one arm swing forward as the opposite leg steps. This swinging motion keeps us balanced and helps with rhythm. But when the brain's motor control starts to slow down, especially from a drop in dopamine levels, that coordination gets thrown off. One arm may begin to stiffen and stop swinging the way it used to. Take Barbara, for example, a 76-year-old from Oregon who loved walking around her neighborhood every morning. One day her daughter noticed something odd. Barbara's left arm wasn't swinging at all. Her right arm moved normally, but the left just hung straight down. At first, Barbara was shocked she hadn't even noticed. But slowly she started feeling that her left side felt a bit slower, a little stiffer. A year later, she was diagnosed with early-stage Parkinson's. Looking back, that still arm was the first real warning sign. The tricky part, most people feel no pain, no discomfort. So it's easy to overlook. This symptom creeps in slowly. Maybe your pace gets a little slower. Maybe your stride starts to feel off. Maybe you start dragging your feet just a bit and don't even realize your arm has stopped moving. But all of these small changes come from the same root cause: your brain isn't making enough dopamine, the chemical that helps control muscle movement. And while we often think of tremors or stiffness as the first signs of Parkinson's, the truth is your arms might tell the story first. What makes this sign so important is it's visible. You don't need a fancy machine or a medical test. All it takes is a sharp eye and a little awareness. So whether it's your own walk or someone you love, take a moment to watch. If one arm has stopped swinging or someone points it out to you, don't brush it off. It could be your nervous system sending its very first message. Sign number 5. Your voice is getting softer and strangely different. Now let's talk about a sign that doesn't come from your hands or feet. It comes from something far more personal: your voice. Have you noticed lately that you're speaking more softly? Maybe you feel short of breath, or people keep asking you to repeat yourself. Sorry, what was that? You feel like you're speaking normally, but others can't seem to hear you clearly. Or maybe your voice sounds hoarse-tired or just not as sharp and strong as it used to. It's not a cold. It's not allergies. It could be one of the earliest signals your brain is trying to send you. Parkinson's affects how your brain communicates with the muscles that control speech, your throat, your mouth, even your diaphragm. When those signals slow down or weaken, your voice can start to fade. It may sound softer, thinner, or less distinct. Sometimes you may think you're speaking normally, but others hear you differently, and that disconnect can slowly chip away at your confidence. Let me share the story of Charles, an 80-year-old former choir singer from Virginia. He loved singing and speaking during church gatherings, but one day he realized people were leaning in just to hear him. His wife noticed their evening conversations weren't as easy as before. Charles didn't feel like he was speaking any differently, but his voice was quite literally disappearing. After a visit to a neurologist, the answer was clear. This was one of the first signs of Parkinson's. And it had been happening long before the tremors or walking issues ever showed up. What makes this sign especially serious is how it affects human connection. Your voice isn't just how you communicate, it's part of your identity. When people can't hear you, or when you feel like you're not being understood, you start talking less. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you feel defeated. And that's part of the emotional weight Parkinson's can carry. It slowly erodes a person's ability to participate in conversations, to feel seen, to stay connected. But here's the good news: you can do something about it. Speech therapy, breathing exercises, even posture adjustments can help maintain or even improve your ability to communicate. And most importantly, know this isn't your fault. You're not talking softer because you're shy or because you're just getting old. This is a neurological symptom, and recognizing it early gives you options. So if your voice feels softer, weaker, raspier, and it's not due to a sore throat or the weather, talk to your doctor. Don't wait until your voice fades completely. Sometimes your voice is the first thing telling you that something deeper is going on, even before you realize it yourself. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you won't miss what's coming next. When you support this channel, you're not just helping us grow, you're helping more older adults access trustworthy, life-changing information so they can stay informed, take action, and protect their quality of life. Thank you for being here. We see you, we appreciate you, and we hope to see you again in the next video.